it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're focusing in on how to outsmart a narcissist or a psychopathic abuser. I have a number of inquiries from viewers who really are at a state of disbelief, a state of shock, and oftentimes at a state of really post-traumatic stress syndrome or complex PTSD, where basically they're floored. They're experiencing health issues. They're experiencing quite a bit of anxiety. Their appetites have changed. They're not sleeping normally. Their lifestyle and their life circle or their life cycle basically has been stunted, stifled, or hindered because of a narcissistic abuser. And they need some not only support and encouragement, but really it comes to an understanding of how to open up or how to really heal beyond a narcissistic abuser. And they're basically, the state of shock is, how can somebody be so cruel? How can somebody have such differential treatment of people? How can they, go through life and seem so happy and healthy, especially in the eyes of others, but yet I know their real story. I know the real scoop. Why am I plagued by this? So I wish to address this question with you. Realize that the narcissistic individual is plagued and character disordered in in two very important ways. One, they have a heightened superior sense of self, which they promote through a mask. So a persona, a false self. So this false self is just that. It is an act. It is a ploy. It is a decoy. It is a false wall that they then put forth to the world. Not their true self, not who they truly are, not what they truly need, not what they are truly emoting from, not their true energetic being. They're putting forth a false self. So if you can remember that mask is what they pretend to be. It is who they put out in the world. And this can affect many areas of their life. In terms of, it can be a false self at work, it can be a false self with their family, it can be a false self with their close, intimate loved ones. It can even be a false self who they promote even at their areas of worship. Because remember, religion is really part of their community with which they are bound to, or that can also be part of their mask. So a lot of people think, come clean to God, come clean to your higher self. Sometimes people don't do that. They go to a house of worship, and it's not about coming clean. It's not about coming naked to God. It's about creating a persona, a false self, a sort of identifying as a certain religion, but yet they don't really promulgate that or really practice that in their everyday life. So you'll know the difference between a true, authentic person of faith and a person who is basically has a mask of religiosity. And in fact, the root word of religion is religio, which means to bind or to adhere to. So oftentimes, it is this binding to this religion, but yet they don't practice a lot of the precepts or the principles. So we see this use of a mask. So when people then ask me, how can they, go through life and seem so happy, so healthy, and have this long life, yet they are, hurtful to others and, have these roots of toxicity, we'll realize that this is a cover-up, that this is a overcompensation for the inferiority or insecurity that they really feel. And oftentimes it is as they get later in life, when health issues do befall them, or when they're really coming to terms with their authentic self, when they have to face the facts. For example, when a lot of their mask has by necessity had to fall away. The people in their life move, or they go into retired living. They no longer have that outlet. They're no longer surrounded by that supply. So then you'll see that they oftentimes come to terms and do drastic things. They might get remarried, at their end of life. They might, just do some things where they then disinherit their close family members. So oftentimes this is because they've traded their false self. They've traded their real self for a false self. So the reason why there are those people who see the ugly side of a narcissistic or psychopathic abuser are those people who have a genuine and open heart, the people who have an authentic side, the people who call them to be authentic. For example, to be patient, to express empathy, to learn, different values and viewpoints, and truly to grow as a person. Yes, they might grow in their mask. They might, have the appearance of, partying a lot, or having a lot of accumulated a lot of items, or, taking all these exotic, luxuriant vacations. Yet underneath, they're constantly unhappy. They're trying to fill that void more and more and more, and it's because their authentic self is not really connecting. Yes, they might have the desires for these things, but there's an authentic self which always feels less than, that feels inadequate, that feels insecure, and so it's this overcompensation that you see in a lot of their circles of influence. So the people who they really dish it up to, the people who they really scapegoat, the people who they tend to insult are those people who are a test of the richer emotions, the true capacity for love, which has an altruistic component. It has an empathic component. It has a component of listening. It has a component of having an open heart, an open mind, being compassionate, which means the ability to feel for somebody and to be able to assist them and to help them through specific situations. So oftentimes the narcissistic individual, they do not have those qualities. They just don't have that in their wheelhouse. They don't have that in their repertoire, if you will, of their emotions and then their ability to experience this. So you'll find that oftentimes a lot of their relationships can be very superficial. And then, part of that grandiosity that we see in the narcissist, they might, then connect with others who share that same grandiosity, or who fuel that grandiosity within them. So the people who are really truly connected to their more, I don't want to say passive emotions, but the emotions of humility, humbleness, peace, and harmony, the real sort of power that really starts to move and then connect people through a consensus, through true community, are oftentimes the ones who are shunned and who are, insulted or berated, or, called to feel less than. So it's really that part of themselves which they haven't given a heart to themselves. They can't give a heart to others. So that is really the cause of why you see this divide or this divisiveness within the narcissistic dynamics, and how they tend to really be cruel, isolating, and alienating to those people who essentially trigger them to alienate. It really is. It is because that part of them, which is called to empathy or called to compassion, just does not exist. So they react with anger, rage, abandonment, violence, and a lot of the other negative emotions which seem to be so abusive and what we call emotionally abusive. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.